and codes, combinations and revelations. No longer restricted access. This is a place of elevation. He gave me power over position and wisdom for my reality. He said no weapon formed would be a match for my vitality, which brings me to this moment, this fight, this wave. I'm standing in my purpose. I'm standing in my wealthy place. Purpose producer.
Welcome back to the Purpose Producer podcast powered by Clear Mix. I'm your host, Georgia Dawkins, and today I have a very special episode of the Purpose Producer for you. Today's guest was interviewed about 6 months ago, and I recently reached out to her and I said, hey girl, you've done so much since this interview. I think we should do a new one. And she said, no, let's go with the one we did because I want to hear the growth. And that's one of the things I love about doing the show is I not only get to introduce you to the stars in front of the camera, but you also get to meet the stars behind the camera. This next woman is not only a director, a writer, but she's an all-around creator. Please meet Miss Shayla Racquel. It's been a long time since we've been in person. I know I just recently missed you in Atlanta, but we do go way back. I feel like I've gotten to know you better on social media than I did on campus, and that's just, the beauty of staying in touch and really cultivating that network. But the Purpose Producer is someone who's using their gifts to help someone else reach their destiny. So who are you and what makes you a Purpose Producer?
Oh, well, my name is Shayla Racquel, and what makes me a Purpose Producer is that I truly believe that God blesses me, especially with my talents as far as like a filmmaker, a writer, a director, and a producer. And God just continues to bless me in order to bless others because filmmaking is such a collaborative process. It's building a community. And so the fact that I can be a writer and I'm able to gift my writing abilities or what I've written to someone to direct it, or I can be a director and take someone's work that they've written and create a vision behind it. I think all of that is blessings in disguise because we're all like matriculating and we're all moving upward together and we're all able to like work with each other, especially if like I may not be strong in certain things and that person may be stronger in other things. I think that God really just uses us in order to bless each other when it comes to that type of ordeal, when it comes to filmmaking. And I think that's what makes me a Purpose Producer is that I lean into that. And I love giving people who don't have the experience that I may have been blessed with, giving them that experience without the Hollywood standards of, oh, you have to have experience in order to get experience. And so that makes me so happy eternally that I am gifted the ability to do things like that. And yeah, I think that's what makes me a Purpose Producer.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I can remember just a few weeks ago, I called one of our mutual friends to help me move. And he was like, I'm in LA helping Shayla on a project for, I'm filming with Shayla. And I was like, well, go do what you got to do. I don't want to interrupt Purpose, because I definitely recognize the value of lifting while you climb. And you're definitely someone who does that. And I want to talk a little bit more about that as we go on. But now I want to talk about you being a branding and a storytelling queen. You're known for the quote, smiles are sunshine for the soul. And every time I see you on my timeline, it just lights up. It just lights up. Even, when I'm reading your stories, there's always something in your feed that inspires me in some way. So I want to say thank you for being transparent with your story and your journey. But what's the source of that light? Where does that joy come from?
Oh, wow. Where does that joy come from? That is such a good question. I think that joy, I honestly just have to give all glory to God, period, because God is just like the sense of my joy. I get peace from knowing that I am walking in my purpose. I am walking in my destiny. And even when I hit bumps in the road, even when I have moments of Because just life is just full of like hills and valleys. Like that's just a part of life. But just knowing that I am every day I wake up, I'm trying to be a good person. My goal is to employ Black and brown people. My goal is to tell stories that not only entertain, but make an impact. I think that all cultivates the joy, and then just like having God that's just steering the wheel. Like I think all of that, creates the joy that's inside of me, especially knowing that I am doing everything that I visioned myself doing when I was 12, 13, 14 years old. And another part of that would be that, I didn't have like a hard childhood or anything like that, but I did have sickle cell disease, and I did have a childhood battle with that disease where I really struggle. Now that I'm an adult, I've gotten it under control. I'm able to like get myself together, be a bit healthier because I'm, of course, taking care of myself. But when I was a child and you just don't know better and all you want to do is be what you think is normal, you don't do as well. You don't take care of yourself. And so just having the bouts with that, having a stroke at 12, having to get blood transfusions and things of that sort, it just instilled in me peace and hope. Like there's just, I could hit rock bottom and I'll still have that hope there because of everything that I've endured, everything I've been through, everything that God has literally carried me through. There's no way I could allow like passing clouds to take away that light and that joy that I have inside of me. And honestly, like I've always considered myself a really, really happy and bubbly person. Like that's just me and my natural personality. But seeing how me just being that way naturally and how it creates a light in other people, that makes me feel that makes me feel purposeful if we're going to stick with the theme here. You know what I'm saying? Like that makes me feel like, wow, like the fact that I feel good and God has blessed me so, and I'm happy and people see the feeling that I'm feeling internally, externally, and that's turning on a light within them. Gosh, like, it makes me feel like I'm walking in my purpose every single day.
It's contagious. And I'm so glad that you mentioned your battle with sickle cell disease, because I have family members who battle with that currently, and family members who've passed away from it at very young ages, young 20s, early 20s. So can you talk a little bit more about your journey to getting it under control? That's not something that other people even know that's a possibility. Like, what's your journey been like?
It's all about just knowing your limitations, setting boundaries, and taking better care of yourself. When I was younger, I just didn't. I just didn't. I did not know my boundaries. I would push things to the limit. If you ask my mom, I was pretty much the president and the captain of every club and organization there was. And it was really just the reason I did those things and I was that way was because I wanted to prove just how normal I was. Like I watched all the teenagers, how they like ran and they played basketball and they did this and they did that. And I wanted to say, okay, I could do that too. Like forget what these books and things are saying. Forget what the world is saying. Oh, people are, passing away at these. I have faith in myself that I could do these things. And so I pushed myself probably way too hard as far as like the stress levels and the things that I took on and so on and so forth. And then when I got to an adult, I was just like, and I moved away and I wasn't 9 hours or 8 hours away from family. And I needed to figure out how to take care of myself without my mom having to drive to come get me and be with me for weeks. That is what created the change in my mind. So I started to try to eat better. You have to drink your water. You have to take your medication. Like you have to do those things that probably as a child, I was not thinking like, I wanted to be a regular teenager. A regular teenager doesn't take their blood pressure medicine every single day, So like, so I think that was like really when it comes to sickle cell, it's just that it's like exercising and just knowing your body and then also knowing when to say no. And not allowing people to like, especially with me and my personality, everyone wants to, like you want collaboration, you want to work, you want to do this, you want to do that. And knowing, okay, I cannot, even though it will make me happy to make you happy, I cannot take that on right now. This is what's on my slate. I have to say no, maybe next time, and so on and so forth. Setting those boundaries, and then also just coming into a routine and just maintaining your health. I think that's the way I've been able to like manage. I haven't been hospitalized in over 7 years, and that's
amazing. That's amazing. I know people who go every year, if not every month, for some type of complication, or they've pushed their limits. But I think you said something really key there about changing your mind. That's not something that, like you said, teenagers or young kids as young as 12 are thinking about. I have to have discipline. I have to change my mind. But that brings me to my next question. You are a master manifester. I have seen you, I'm going to call Instagram stories BTS, craft your future, like from the sticky notes. I'm not going to give all your strategy away, but if you can just talk, like, why is it important for you to have a clear vision and a clear plan, and what is your strategy for attacking that plan?
Why is it important for me to have a clear vision and a clear plan? Because I think if you don't write it down, you have no clue just how many little baby steps you've made towards your goal, and you lose sight and you forget just how many blessings you have encountered, and how far you have come. And honestly, I got the whole idea of like sticky notes and things of that sort from my mom. My mom has a war room where no one's allowed in there. And she goes in there, she prays, and she writes. If you look, it's just like the entire room is just covered with stickies of like prayers for herself, prayers for her family, prayers for other people. We'll tell her things, and then she'll say, okay, I need to write that down on a sticky so that I can continue to pray about it. And I just watched her and just watched how like, and let me just add to that. Not only were things just coming to fruition because she was just writing them down and praying for it, and then putting that power onto God and saying, God, if this is your will, this is what I want. But how humbled she was if it didn't come, and how she still showed gratitude, and she still had faith, and she would still write, Lord, this was your will, and I may not understand why you did it had to be this way, but I'm going to choose to see the message in it. And then like her just keeping up with all of these things, and like seeing just how many things that she was blessed with, and then like seeing all the things that me didn't, and how like it just didn't even matter to her anymore, or something like that. I just thought that was so powerful. And then it was one Christmas. It was either Christmas or Thanksgiving, where she challenged the entire family to do the same, where she asked us to just write on things and then keep it in a jar. And I did it. And it just made me feel so empowered, and it just really strengthened my relationship with God, that I had the stickies, but then I also have a prayer journal where I just come and I just free write all that I'm feeling, but also just showing gratitude and things of that sort. And then being able to look at that jar, because once it comes to fruition, or say, for instance, once it didn't, and you just want to say, God, I understand, and I give it all to you. And being able to look at this filled jar of all the things, and then realizing, wow, like a year ago, I was just not in that same place. And I am so much closer to these goals that I have made now. There's power in that. And then also it's extremely motivating. So I think that is why, I hope I answered your question, because I can't remember, but
you're doing it all. Clear vision, and attacking that vision, being, a lot of people just kind of, I feel like I know a lot of people who just talk about things and just say the same thing over and over. But I feel the same way you do, is when you write it, writing holds me accountable. If I wrote it down, I got to do that now. Like, this has to happen, or I have to have the discernment and the wisdom to know to release it to a higher calling, and a higher vision, a vision much bigger than mine. Yeah. But I know, speaking of your vision, you're working full time. We both are. Yeah. And balancing your purpose. How do you get it all done? How do you stay organized?
Time management is like the most important aspect of, I think, honestly, any artistic career. especially as you're trying to like balance having money and keeping a day job and having money in order to pay your bills and also pay for what it costs to create your art. Because the thing about being an artist is it costs. Like
That
we have,
website is sharp, honey. Okay, your
you gotta,
photo equity is sharp. You are
you gotta,
investing in
let me
brand.
tell you, filmmaking is expensive. It is expensive craft. And so I think time management, my favorite quote of myself is I work a 9 to 5 to pay for my 5 to 9 until my 5 to 9 can become my 9 to 5. And I truly, truly live by that. Like I have a passion planner. I work my 9 to 5, but they know after 8 hours, I'm out of there. And then I'm dedicating the time in order to read. I'm dedicating the time in order to write. I'm dedicating the time in order to study my craft, which is watching movies, watching television, so that I could just continue to grow in how I am crafting my vision and how I craft my work and things of that sort. And just making sure that you carve that time, but then also carving out the time to rest, carving out the time to cultivate your relationships and community, and just having yourself a nice schedule where it is flexible, but at the same time, it's not overwhelming, and you are just trying to make sure that you get everything that you need to get done in order to move to the next level. I think that is so, so, so important. And it's really, really helped me become as productive and efficient as possible. And yeah, that is really the way that I go about it. 9 to 5, and you got to cut them off. You set your boundary.
I'm
And
really
then
proud of myself because I've been implementing those boundaries and really sticking to them this year. In the past, I work for a tech startup now, but in the past, I was working TV, television production. You know, they will take it all and they don't care if there's anything left at the end of the day. But it's my responsibility to have something left for Georgia, to have something left for the purpose producer. Like, can't give it all
absolutely.
away. One thing you said is cost. Filmmaking is an expensive business. But I think a lot of times people don't talk enough about the mental costs, the emotional costs, the physical costs, the spiritual costs. So, what's been the
Yeah.
most surprising thing about being a Black female director? I don't even want to say up and coming because I feel like you are doing the things right now. What hurdles have you faced, and how do you move through it?
Wow, what hurdles have I faced? I think the biggest hurdle that I've faced, and then also probably most Black women filmmakers, is getting people to trust you and give you that one chance. Because all you need is that one chance. So you can, and the way that makes people more like susceptible to like give you a chance is by creating your own work. So doing your own shorts, doing your own features, things of that sort, putting it out into the world, but that costs money. So I think that is like the hardest thing, because let me tell you, we are the most overly mentored group, right? Like everyone wants to mentor. Like there's so many diverse directors this, diverse writers this, and we have a plethora of mentorship programs geared towards Black women filmmakers. But what happens after that? Are you giving them the chance? Are you saying, okay, here's your chance. Here's the director's chance. Are you giving them the space to fail? Because that's one thing that I feel like people within, I don't want to say the majority, but people who have more privilege have that we don't have, is they got the space to fail. They could get look at Game of Thrones. They could get the big millions and millions of dollars, fail out, and then still get the big millions and millions of dollars to continue to do the work that they do. Whereas us as Black women filmmakers, it's like do or die. You cannot make one mistake, because the next time when you make that mistake, you got your entire race and gender on your back. And that's not fair. So I think that's the biggest, I wouldn't even say it's a surprise, because that's the world, right? Like that's life. But I think that navigating that would be just finding your community, building together, as Issa Rae say, working horizontally, you put in your money and then and so that you can direct and whatever. And then the next time we're putting in the money for this person to direct, and we're just all building together and then forcing people to be seen, as Ava said, not trying to get a seat at the table, but like knocking down the building and creating our own table. I think that the trajectory of trying to do that has been the most surprising and like exhausting part, because it really just takes television. What we do, it's all about someone who knows you, not even who you know. And it really just takes for that big exec to say, you know what, I want her to direct this, and you get your big chance, right? And that's it. So that's a bit rare. It's like you're spending eons and eons more so trying to prove yourself when there's nothing to prove. You've done it already. That's been the part that's been so exhausting. But I think when you know that this is your purpose and this is your destiny and this is what you really want to do, that all comes to the back of your mind. Like, it's not something that you harp on. You just keep doing the work. You get the work done, you finish the project, you put it out, you move on to your next project. Eventually, somebody is going to see it and the stars are going to align and you're going to get your chance. But even then, feeling fulfilled in what you're just doing right there on that scale, that needs to be motivating and that needs to be enough. So that you can be blessed for the big leagues, I guess.
That's the real of it. You said Issa Rae, and I was thinking of that quote earlier when we were talking about your team, to build horizontally. And that's essentially to lift while you climb. Look at the people around you. And I know we graduated just a few years apart from Florida A&M University. And I don't know if I'm going to be hiring you, if you're going to hire me, but I'm a big fan. I would love to work with you one day.
No, I've always been a big fan of Georgia.
Well, thank you. Talk to me about your strategy for team building. How do you know that this AD or this writer or how do you know this person is right for your team?
This is probably going to make a lot of filmmakers mad, but I don't get caught up, especially at my stage. I don't get caught up in experience. It's more so you tell me what your dreams are and I'm going to be the one to give you the chance. And it may not be like, oh, you take on that big role right then, but I'm definitely going to make you the assistant to that. And then the next time you're definitely going to get the big chance to be on top. And that is how I've built my team. Well, I won't call them my team. That is how I've built the community around me. And that's how everyone within that community has built the community around them. And that's how we all work together. And it's like, once we get someone who's like, they've expressed that they love this, we give them the shot to like do it, and they like do great at it, or they're like, okay, I want to learn something else, because if we really, really like them, we'll just keep them on board and then we'll keep propelling forward. That is how I've been kind of navigating that space. And that's how a lot of my filmmaking friends have navigated that space. We'll just have people come up to us and like, I really want to learn more about being a music supervisor. I love music. I do this, I do that. I'm like, okay, well, come in. We'll tell you what a music supervisor does. You do this, and then we'll see if you like it. Oh, I absolutely love this. All right. So then now you're the music supervisor for this project and this project and this project. That's how we've kind of built that community, and we just continue to work with each other as we just continue to move forward.
About how many people are on per production are you essentially managing?
If I'm the director or producer?
Staffing or managing, yeah.
Yeah, so wow, that's a good question. As an independent filmmaker, you probably do well. That's a loaded question, because it really just depends on the project.
And the budget.
I'll go to Robin Hood. I think we had about 40 people who was on crew, but then to Big Hollywood set, that's considered a skeleton crew. You know what I'm saying? But for an independent set, a skeleton crew would be 5 people, because that's all you could find. But so I would say the average is about 40. I've done more, I've done less. River Mint was about 100 and something.
Wow.
Yeah,
that is amazing. I mean, I know that you're doing great work. I've seen the product, but I had no idea it took that many people, because I come from unscripted television where people think They think I can just do a film. They think I can just do scripted. And I'm like, it's not the same. It's not the same thing.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
The
So
Wonder
I
Years,
love, oh, go ahead.
I was going to say the Wonder Years, they had a crew of 300. So that shows you the divide as far as like indie versus having $12 million per episode. When I say all 300 have a job, it's different when you're indie because like when you got 40 people, those 40 people probably got 2 to 3 jobs. We all balancing. But in the industry, when I was working on the Wonder Years set, as the shadow director of the Wonder Year said, it was 300 people and everyone had one job and they got a chance to focus on that one job. And it made things flow so much faster. Like there was just a nice little gear turning ordeal to it. And I cannot wait to get to that level.
Love
But
a
for
good
right now,
process. Oh, I love a process and a staff. We got everything we need. We got the budget. Oh, this is great.
right,
You get a job.
taking out
You get a
shift,
job.
put shift so that it keep on rolling. First shift go to lunch, second shift taking over. Oh yeah, that's the life.
Here's something that I think a lot of indie filmmakers are considering, and that's their management, and that's agents, their representation. So you mentioned this is not just Team Shayla; it's your community. So how did you go about finding your management, and how did you know they were right for you?
Yeah. So the thing about management, I hate how management and agents is such a hush hush process. Like everyone is like, no one really knows how to get management. But the truth of the matter is, and I can just speak from my experience, is that you don't go about finding management. Management finds you. So you really have to just focus on you doing the work, putting it out into the world for people to consume it and see it. And then you will notice that management will start knocking on your door. When I did Rivermint, and we were officially selected in over 40 film festivals and 20 awards. I had gotten, and then let me add a part to that before I continue the story. Making sure that you're ready so that when management does find you, you have a whole slate of projects either written or directed or ready to go into production that you can present to them, because management is looking for what can we sell? How can we help you get your train rolling? And if you don't have anything, then they can't really help you. So when I did Rivermint, I was in 40 film festivals and we won like about a little over 20 awards. And so I was getting emails like a lot from different management companies, and I would send them Rivermint, which they already saw because that was the reason they were contacting me. But I didn't have anything else. Like I had some short films that I did in college, but I hadn't like written anything new. I was not ready. And I know that now, and I can accept that now. So
That's wisdom too, knowing you're not ready. It's not like you're holding yourself back. I want to be ready when when this opportunity comes.
Exactly. So what I noticed is I was like, man, I'm getting these people who are interested in me. I'm sending them the work that they've probably already seen, and I don't have anything else to give them when they ask, okay, well, what else do you have? I need to take a step back. And I hate that the pandemic happened, but the pandemic helped me with that. I need to take a step back, and I need to cultivate my talent, and I need to get more material ready to go so that the next time somebody comes along and they're interested in me, I have more to give. And that's exactly what happened. I spent 2019, 2020 just writing. I had wrote like 2 or 3 short films. I had like 2 features. Like I had material. So by the time I did, my management company IBA had reached out and it was like, hey, we saw your film at Black Star Film Festival. Do you have management? Can we have a conversation? I was ready. I was like, okay, well, I have this. And I still felt like I didn't have enough. Like, I was like, I have this. And so from that process, then it becomes more so see if they are a right fit for you, and also see if you are a right fit for them. Right. So that was about a 5 to 6 month process in itself. Like me and the representative just going back and forth, having conversations, interviews, listening to the reason as to why she's in management and she wanted to represent me, but then also seeing if does it align with my own morals and values and what I want to do, and then if that was a good fit. And that's really what happened. My management company used to work for CAA, which is like one of the big ones. And so, but what she had noticed was that a lot of the, like, say for instance, people like me would get signed in there and then they would kind of get buried under the big talent, the big A-listers. And the big A-listers would get all of the good stuff, and they weren't really focusing on like the smaller and the more diverse talent. So then that's when she wanted to branch out and create a pipeline for more diverse talent, like women of color and people of color and women and things of that sort. So hearing her talk about that aligned with my values, because one, I want to tell stories about Black women or women of color. I want to tell coming of age stories. I want to tell stories that I feel like are impactful. So hearing that was like, okay, she's going to actually invest her time, because management don't make money unless you make money. And so they have to be willing to invest their time on you. And that's why they focus on A-listers versus the little small fish. So listening to that made me feel like, okay, no, she's really going to go to bat for me and go hard for me and make sure that I'm given a platform to like really just shine. And that's really what happened. And since then it was like I'm so appreciative that she actually took a chance on me, and has really helped push my career forward over the past. It's been a year now. Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. And I know in this last year, you mentioned Rivermint. It was featured in the screening room on Fox Soul, and you got to be interviewed by the Vivica A. Fox. Come on now. Like, what was that like? Like being interviewed by a legend. What was that like?
Oh man, having a legend like that pour into you. Because a lot of that interview got cut out, but she just poured into me, Black woman to Black woman. And she was just like, you're doing it, girl. I am so proud of you. And just like hearing this person who's been in the game for so long, she was the lead of some of my favorite movies, just pour into me like that. And then not even just pour into me, but showed me just how invested she was in my career. Like all she had to do was watch Rivermint. But she was on that interview and this didn't show. And she asked me about quarter century, which means she Googled me and researched me and watched my old stuff that I had built stepping stones on to get to even
like
get to
way back. What's that, like 10 years?
I mean, right. Like that's the first series I wrote. So having her do that and just show that, oh, I was watching you and I was watching your work and I can see the change. I can see the growth in you. And I think you're going to do amazing things. It just was affirming. It was like, yes, okay. I'm on the right path. I'm doing everything that I need to be doing. I just got to persevere.
Man, that just really spoke to me. And what resonated with me is the word growth. Even with this show, this is season 3 of The Purpose Producer. And I've been dragging my feet about bringing the show back because it has to look like this. My hair has to be like this. My clothes, my lighting has to be like this. And so that all these are excuses just keeping me from starting. So for anybody listening out there, like, don't let those excuses hold you back and lean into the growth, because I would love for 10 years from now for people to say, I see the growth from season 3 to season 13. And, that inspires me in some way. So thank you for not giving up, for continuing to write, and for continuing to create your vision. What I've really enjoyed watching in the last year is your branding and digital storytelling about the making of Robin Hood. I mean, your team behind the scenes series. I watched that too, because I was like, oh, they did this in Atlanta. Oh, I got to see, how this went down. And then you did the screening in Atlanta. So what's next for this series and how can people support?
Yeah, so Robin Hood, we're currently trying to package it up for pitching and possibly selling it, because we do want it to be a series. So what you saw is like the short form. There is a pilot script that comes from, and then now we're just trying to see who is willing to purchase it and help us create a writer's room around it and actually grow that story. So that's the process that we're in now. We are going to do a few film festivals. We're just waiting to hear back to see if we actually got into those film festivals, which crosses fingers that we do. But yeah,
Of course
that's
you did. Look at that
yeah.
cast. Look at the cast. Talk to me about the people who are on camera, the key people on camera and behind the scenes of Robin Hood.
Yeah, so as far as like on camera, we had Gail Bean who played in Snowfall, Insecure, and another probably one of your favorite shows that's going to come out that I'm not probably allowed to talk about. Then you have Daniel Augustin who plays the lead guy, Kasim, and he's killing it. He just got casted in Rap Shit with Issa Rae. He was in Grey's Anatomy. Like every day he posts a new Deadline article that he has gotten casted in something. So amazing talent. Another amazing talent is Ben Abiola. There's a BuzzFeed has a Coco Brown, I think it's called, or division, and he's one of the people a part of that. And he's also like a social media influencer. And then you have the lovely Bianca Bethune. She was in Bad Boys 2, Bad Boys for Life, and a few other like series, and she's just killing the game as well. So like, wow, to have like such a star-studded cast was really just a blessing, and I'm really, really happy that they lended their talents in order to help us bring that story to life. And then behind the camera, oh my goodness, Moon Lee Ferguson, watch out for her. She's like fantasy sci-fi horror extraordinaire. She's a writer, director, producer, probably one of the best producers I've ever worked with. She was the producer for this. Janine, who's just also fantastic and fantastic visionary. She was the director of this project. And we had, of course, like Fam Ewens just kind of ran up and through that entire crew list. But our executive producers were two just dope gentlemen. Terrell Hill, who was in Judah and the Black Messiah. He's also one of the leads of the Step Up series on Stars. He was an executive producer of Robin Hood. And then Ivan Gaskin, who is just a phenomenal executive producer.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I'm so happy for you, and I can't wait to see where this goes. I know that we're running out of time here, but I just want to ask you about two more things. You recently got to be a guest shadow director. I'm sorry, on the Wonder Years remake or reboot. What is it? Reimagine, rebooted? What's the correct?
I think it's called rebooting. Oh no, it's not rebooting because it's not necessarily a reboot.
Okay.
It's just a new one because it's a
Because they
completely
black
different.
now. I mean, we can't even.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not stories. It's really just an entirely, like, I know people are kind of caught up on that, but it's an entirely different concept to it, and it's not like taking the old Wonder Years, which I was a huge fan of. I used to watch it growing up. And just putting black faces on it. No, like it's really authentic storytelling to the black experience.
But an iconic series, nonetheless. And you also got to honor the late director John Singleton with another opportunity. So talk to me about what it means to you to be a part of these legacies.
Oh wow, it goes back just to that affirmation of just that I'm walking in my purpose and I'm fulfilling God's destiny for me, because quarter 4 was just a blur and it was just full of blessings. It was just like, it's just so affirming and just so like, Shayla, you're doing this, like you're here now. You're working. All the things that you've written down on sticky notes are coming to fruition. And now, girl, you just got to keep on keeping on. And man, it was so amazing being on that Wonder Year set and seeing just how having money and a budget looks like for a series.
You look so happy. You look like a kid, like at Disney World for the first time. Like your smile in that chair, you were lit.
But honestly, it was affirming because it was like the same problems that they had, the same problems that I have as a person who's trying to shoot a dope series with 20K. It's the same problems they was having shooting a dope series with 6 million, 7 million per episode, however many millions they get per episode. So it was just like affirming, like, okay, y'all have the same issues. It's just now you as a director don't necessarily have to worry about the fact that the AC didn't show up and having to be the director and the AC at the same time. Like, I don't have to do that. So that was really fun. And then, oh my goodness, the John Singleton. So it was how that happened was I was the guest shadow director for the Wonder Years. And then I had to, right after I got off that set, I had to fly to LA and actually be the director of the John Singleton, of the winning script of the John Singleton Embrace Initiative in collaboration with the city of Los Angeles. And to be on the Wonder Year set and then go in and direct your own set and be able to apply some of the things that you learned onto that, and then have like the representatives and the investors watching you, because, you know, it was a grant, watching you and then come up to you and like, wow, you are one of my favorite directors, or I want you to know that you are making John Singleton and his cinematic legacy, you should proud. Oh, I don't think I cried as much as I don't think I cried. It was so like, I love this. I would take all the bad with the good to feel this every single day.
Yeah.
It was just, it was such a whirlwind, and it was exhausting, but it was so fulfilling, and I'm happy I got the opportunity.
You have accomplished a lot in your life and you have survived a lot. You're still very young, but what words would you tell 12-year-old Shayla, you know, who suffered a stroke at 12, battling, like, what advice would you give her to prepare her for where you are today?
What advice would I give her? I would tell her, put it all on the page. I would tell her to, everything that you're feeling, everything that you're enduring, everything that you're going through, put it all on the page and watch where it brings you. And you're going to hit some moments where you don't feel like doing it anymore, or that you're not seeing the value in it, but even take those feelings and put it on the page, because people are going to be able to relate to it, and you're going to see so much growth.
Keys and codes, combinations and revelations. No longer restricted access. This is a place of elevation. He gave me power over position and wisdom for my reality. He said no weapon formed would be a match for my vitality, which brings me to this moment, this fight, this wave. I'm standing in my purpose. I'm standing in my wealthy place. Purpose producer.